everybody, welcome to your literacy video for Wednesday the 3rd of June. So you will need today your pack that says the week commencing the 1st, make sure you've got literacy and turn over to Wednesday the 3rd of June to our verb sheets, okay? So today we're going to have a look at verbs. Now we know what verbs are, we know the channel. Are you ready? A verb is a word, it's an action word. If you can do it, it's a verb. So they're action words, they're doing words. So I've got lots of verbs here. I've got jumped, ran, think, laugh, read, bounced, raced, slide, throw, wash, cry and clapped. Now some of these you might not think are verbs like think, because when someone's thinking they look like they're not doing very much, but actually they are in their heads. So as long as it's an action or a doing word, it's a verb. So let's have a little look at your activities for today. So I've got here, find the verbs in these sentences. So I need to read them carefully first. Ted rode his bike down the road. So which one is the doing word? Where is Ted doing an action? So Ted rode his bike. Him riding the bike is the action. So I need to make sure I circle my verb. He rode his bike. Mum drove to the supermarket. Now the word there, I need to think about the action that Mum did, the doing word. She got in her car and she drove. That's the doing word. Mum was driving. So if you have sentences like this, you need to find the verbs. Another activity you might have on your sheet looks a little bit like this, where I've got some sentences that have missing words and I need to think about which verb, the doing word, that would fit in the missing gap. So let's have a look. I've got laughed and swept. So we need to read the sentence first to see which one makes sense. So the lady something the floor. So if I put the lady laughed the floor, it doesn't make sense. It would if it said the lady laughed at the floor. So let's have a look at this one. The lady swept the floor. Now that makes sense. Swept is the doing word. She was sweeping the floor. So I'm going to fill in, copying the spelling carefully. My neatest handwriting, swept the floor. Now that makes sense. Let's have a little look at this one. I've got two verbs here, cried and danced. Let's have a read of the sentence first. Sarah something because her ice cream fell on the floor. Sarah cried because her ice cream fell on the floor, or Sarah danced because her ice cream fell on the floor. Now, personally, if I'm Sarah, I would cry if my ice cream fell on the floor. I don't think many people would dance. So I'm going to write cried there and check my sentence makes sense. Sarah cried because her ice cream fell on the floor. So moving on to a slightly trickier activity. We know that verbs can be past tense, which means they've already happened. The action has already been done. Or they can be present tense to show that the action is happening right now, okay? So you might have a box that's got lots of verbs that have got past tense or present tense. So I've got jumped, screamed, flew, laughed, shout, run, jogged. And your job is to put them into the correct column. Are they present tense, so it's happening now, or are they past tense, it's happened before, okay? So I always think about this when I use the sentence. If it could happen yesterday, that means it's the past tense. So let's have a look. Yesterday, I jumped over the pond. Now that makes sense. I wouldn't say yesterday I jump over the pond. So jumped with the ed on the end must be past tense. So I'm going to fill it in my column there. Scream. Now if I use the similar sentence again, yesterday I scream, that doesn't make sense. So scream, it's happening now. Screamed happens in the past. So I'm going to write scream under a present tense verb, okay? So try and use it in a sentence to see if it makes sense. Did it happen in the past or is it happening now in the present? So, for today's worksheets, if you've turned to Wednesday the 3rd of June, you'll see our mild chilli. So if you're in Mr. Griffin and Miss Petite set, you might want to try that, where you've got to find the verbs, pick the right verb and write me some lovely sentences including these verbs at the bottom. If you are in mine or Miss Charlesworth's, you might want to start on the medium chilli and possibly have a go at the hot. It's up to you what you want to do. So you might have complete the sentence with the verbs. So you've got loads of verbs in this box and you've got to put them in the right sentence where they make sense. You've also got at the bottom, write your own sentences including the verbs. And then if you're up for a challenge today, we have that present tense and that past tense box for you to sort your verbs into. Good luck, and if you need help, just remember a verb is a word, it's an action word. If you can do it, it's a verb.